Hi, Angie. I'm going to share my screen right now. So we are going to do your lesson, which today is a review of the weather, okay? Um, as you know, on the second day of creation, God separated the earth and the sky. God made the atmosphere. The atmosphere, it's all of the air that is surrounding the earth, our planet, okay? And life depends upon this air. People, animals, plants need air as much as we need water because without air we can't live. And changes in these, all of these air surrounding the earth, called the atmosphere, cause the weather. The weather, as you know, meaning if it's sunny or rainy or cloudy or we have a storm, all of that depends on the weather. And the weather depends on the atmosphere. Okay, weathermen are the people that study the weather. They capture changes in temperature, in the air pressure, in the air movement, and moisture, which is the amount of water in the air, with special instruments. And they can predict days ahead what's going to happen with the weather and give us warning if the weather looks dangerous. For today, you have different words for your vocabulary. One of them is radiation, radiación, which means that something gives out rays of light or heat or electricity, like what happens with the sun that gives out rays of light and heat to the earth, thanks to radiation. Then you have the word troposphere or troposfera in Spanish. It's the layer of the atmosphere that it's nearest to the earth, meaning that the one that we are breathing in, the one where we have weather, the one where airplanes fly. Okay, I just made the image really big so you can see it, but I'm gonna make it smaller so you see that there are more layers of the atmosphere beside the troposphere. See, we have the troposphere, the stratosphere, the mesosphere, thermosphere, and the exosphere, and then that's space. But just for purpose of you watching just a troposphere, I made it bigger. Okay? We have different levels of the atmosphere as I was explaining before, okay? Scientists have named all of these levels, like they divide the atmosphere in different layers, okay? The air, as I was saying before, that it's nearest to us, the one we breathe in, that it's really close to the earth, it's called a troposphere. It contains almost all of the air and most of the water vapor, meaning little drops of water flying in the air, okay? It contains the great wind belts, which it's like the ways that the wind is moving across the earth, the clouds, and the weather. The next layer that we have here is the stratosphere. It extends about from the troposphere to 30 miles above Earth. And in the upper part of the stratosphere, we have something called the ozone layer, okay? The ozone layer, it's a layer filled with a gas called ozone. Ozone protects us from these dangerous rays that the sun has that are called the ultraviolet rays. And they can do great damage to our health, especially our skin. So God put this layer that protects us, okay? And then we have more layers. The mesosphere, well, someone call it the thermosphere or ionosphere, and then you have the exosphere. Beyond these layers, the atmosphere blends in with space. And here you have a real picture of how the atmosphere looks from space. Okay, so what causes weather? As you start to go up the atmosphere, the temperature starts to go down. About 8 to 20 miles above Earth, the temperature gets down to an average of minus 55 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, so every time you go up in the sky 3.5 degrees Fahrenheit, every time you go 1,000 feet of altitude up, the temperature goes up 3.5 degrees Fahrenheit. So temperature is increasing a little bit every time you go 1,000 feet of altitude, okay? And that's why when you go up a mountain, it starts to feel cooler when you go up. Okay, heat travels from the sun to the earth through radiation, like what we saw in the picture of the vocabulary. This one, if you don't remember. Here, sorry. Okay, and then all of the rays go through the atmosphere and they hit the earth. And when the earth gets heated, it starts heating the air that it's right next to the earth, okay? The air gets warm. And as the air gets warm, it expands. And then it rises. And cooler air goes to the bottom, okay? And this set in motion the moving of the earth and different things like the radiation from the sun, the changes in temperature because of the altitude, and moving of air. All of that causes weather. And then we also have the amount of moisture. Moisture are little drops of water that are in the air, okay? And they're part of the water cycle. Remember what we talked about, that water evaporates, goes into the sky, then it condensates, and it forms clouds, then it rains, that's precipitation, and then it goes back to the oceans, okay? So when all of the water vapor is flying in the air, that affects climate too, weather too. Okay, and then we have forces of weather. Forces of weather like thunderstorms and sand and dust storms. Sand and dust storms are storms of dust or sand, and it happens when the sun or the dust get heated and there's a lot of wind. Okay, and those are dangerous because they damage the soil. They take away crops and soil and nutrients. And then we have thunderstorms, like this picture. You have thunder, but thunder, it's not really bad because it gives, when you have thunderstorm first, you get rain, which is good for our crops. And then thunders actually serve as a fertilizer for the plants. And then you have other forces of weather like wind and water, and also ice and changing temperature, meaning when it's hot or cold. All of that helps break up rocks and the soil. And weathering takes place. Weathering means that thing starts to get old, se desgastan. And then when the soil is worn away, it's called erosion. Okay, like this picture. When you see that the soil, it's not looking good. It's looking like it's, I wouldn't say old, but it looks like it's not healthy. If you see it, it's mostly round. Oh, sorry. It's mostly brown, not green. It has cracks in it. Doesn't look good. That's erosion. Okay, I'm gonna put this back in its place. Wait. Oh. And then you have something that is called prediction of weather. You have people that are constantly studying the weather, and they can know what the weather is going to be days ahead of when it happens. They use instruments like thermometers, barometers, weather vanes, anemometers, and rain gauges, different things to see how the weather is going, and they can warn you if a storm is coming or a heat wave is coming, okay? I'm gonna stop sharing, and that's it. That's it for today.